Hello, and welcome to As Built, the podcast from Graphic Machine about architecture firms, buildings, and how both get built. I am Patience Jones, your co-host. With me is
Brian Jones,
your other co-host. Thank you for joining us. Today we are doing an episode of Tech Stack that is centered around the proposed Google Chrome sell-off. So the world of search engine optimization is often very dramatic. And in case you haven't been following it, the Department of Justice filed an antitrust suit against Google some time ago, basically saying, Google, you are too big and you own too much and you know too much. And it was determined that they did all of those things. So they now are going to have a quote unquote punishment. And the punishment that has been suggested by the Department of Justice has a couple of components to it. The first is that Google will have to sell Chrome, which is Google's internet browser. The second is that it will have to prevent Android phones from having Google Chrome as the default browser.
And the search engine as well.
And the search engine. Mm-hmm. It will also attempt to make them not have Chrome be the default search engine or browser for Apple and other devices. Is that right?
It's going to be that Google Search will no longer, they don't want Google Search to be the default search engine in Apple's devices.
Okay. And the last component that's proposed is that Google will have to share some or all of the data that it collects about its users with its competitors to even the playing field. So these things have caused the search engine world to totally lose their minds. And everybody's concerned about, what does this mean? What if there's no more Google Chrome? What does this mean for search engine optimization? What does this mean for how people find websites? What does this mean for my marketing? And we are here to tell you.
And also why you should care.
Yes. So what this means for everybody in the short term is nothing, because these hearings are not going to be held. The quote unquote punishment hearings will not be held until April. And the judge is hoping to issue a decision before Labor Day. Once that decision is issued, the process of implementing whatever the punishment is will take place. It won't happen overnight.
And that's assuming there's no appeal.
Exactly. Because this is the sort of case that could go potentially all the way up to the Supreme Court and be litigated for several years before we have an answer about what's actually going to happen. So the first thing is everybody just calm down a little bit, because nothing's changing overnight.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think that the thing that is important to take away is that although nothing is changing, maybe we need to start rethinking about how we position things going forward. That is the actual takeaway. Chrome currently occupies about, I think as of today, about 60% of the share of the market of browser usage. So yes, that's a majority, but it's not what it was at its heyday, which was much higher. So people are using a lot of different devices and applications to access websites and to do searches and to find things. So it's having a Chrome only mindset is not necessarily the best thing that you can do. Recognizing that Google Chrome is both a browser and a sort of framework that other browsers also use to build their web browsers on. Microsoft is also using Chromium as the backbone for theirs as well now. So yeah, you've got to, rethink a little bit as a marketer that when you're doing optimizations, it's not just about Chrome.
And I think this is a good example of a larger principle, which is it should never be that everything is about one thing. It should never be, we went through this with third-party cookies, like, oh no, the third-party cookies are going away and now I won't be able to sell anything. And no, you just have to think about alternative ways to do the thing. And you shouldn't be no one's marketing should be all in on one channel or one platform, because things like this can happen. A company can fold and say, okay, you were advertising on this platform, now we don't exist anymore. Or we know that you had a free account on this, well, now we're going to start charging. This is why it's really important to think of your marketing almost as like a stock portfolio. What's your mix? What's your balance? You should not be all in on one stock.
Something like all eggs in one basket sort of situation.
Yeah, I feel like I've heard that before.
I don't know. I think it's a brand new phrase. I'm inventing it right now.
Trademark it. Yes. I think Google owns it.
Yeah. I mean, I think that the internet is a plurality, and it is something that is growing more interesting and more multifaceted as every day passes. So what that means for you as a marketer is that it kind of boils down to a few things, both in the way that the search share that you are receiving, make sure you understand the different search engines and how they might affect your business. But more importantly, optimization and how your site performs on different browsers, and make sure that it is displaying correctly on multiple browsers. For too long, it's really easy to become complacent and just say, well, it works on Chrome, oh well. But which is what happened
10 years ago with Internet Explorer.
Yep.
Like, well, does it work on IE? Well, then okay, fine.
Yeah, everything else, it's fine. It'll be fine. So
yeah. And something that is true and remains true no matter what happens with Chrome is people should be having good experiences. It should be a good user experience, and it should be a good user experience for the most number of people possible. And if you're making your site something that can be accessed by the largest number of people, that can be navigated and understood and explored and seen on the largest number of devices, largest number of browsers, then you're going to be fine. Mm-hmm. And if you've optimized it using best practices for search engines, no matter what that search engine is, you're going to be fine.
And I think that is an excellent way to frame all of this, which is that, having a good game plan that is more not single company dependent is just always, that is the best practice.
Yeah.
And that is for me, that is the big takeaway.
There's a Q&A that John Mueller from Google does sometimes, and people will ask him questions like, should I do this specific thing to increase my page views, or should I do this specific thing to game out Google's system? And I always love his answers, because they're always just like, well, no, just make a good site, just make a good experience, just write good content, just use proper structure in your pages. And his point over and over again is, if you're following kind of the framework for how we all want to see an ideal internet operate, then everything else will be okay. It's when you start getting obsessed with, well, can I game it here? Can I trick it here? It doesn't work. And it's going to, even if it works for one particular system, it's going to throw you off on all the others. And
it may work for a while, but it also may work and then really not work. And that is the important thing to take note of. Absolutely. So big takeaways. Big takeaways. Deep breath. Don't start making radical changes to your site, your search engine optimization, or your marketing plan in response to this, because nobody even knows what this is yet, and it's going to take some time to sort out. Where you should channel that energy is making sure that your site is in good working order, that it's the best site it can possibly be, and that your search engine optimization is the best that it can possibly be, irrespective of what browser or what framework. It'll put you in a much better footing for the future decisions that we don't know what they are yet. Exactly. Not even Google knows what they are, which is like... How can that even be? Yeah, right? It's shocking. Well, thank you for joining us, and we will see you next time.